any company starting new, why is it important to do branding as well as sales both?
Everything you can think about everything in the world, but you need money in the bank at the end of the day. That is why a lot of brands focus on sales.
How do you define that this branding activity is good?
See, everything will boil down to KPIs.
Right.
As any business, you need to set out your KPIs. You need to be able to set out what is it that you're trying to achieve from any branding, marketing, sales activity, anything that you're doing. You need to be able to figure out what your goals are and how we are going to assess those goals.
The difference between online and offline.
Digital is the first. Once you've completed that, then you do the other, tick marks that you need to do.
Right.
Offline.
Or does it depend on the type of industry we are in?
Very much.
Hi Dhruv, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
All good, all good. So today's topic is start branding, stop selling, right? My first question is for our audience to understand. कुछ ऐसे brands होते हैं जो they focus more on branding, and while there are some brands they focus more on getting more and more sales.
Yeah.
Operations रुके, sales खत्म. ठीक है, बट ब्रांडिंग इज लाइक कि एक दिन, 2 दिन, 3 दिन एक्टिविटीज नहीं भी हुई तब भी यूल टेस्ट द फ्लो ऑफ लीड्स, यूल टेस्ट द फ्लो ऑफ ब्रांडिंग एक्टिविटीज दैट यू हैड डन सो फार. सो ब्रांड्स के लिए व्हाई इज इट important to do branding first and then focus on selling? I know initially brands के लिए, किसी भी बिजनेस के लिए सेल्स और ब्रांड्स दोनों, ब्रांडिंग दोनों इंपॉर्टेंट है, बट इनिशियली फॉर एनी कंपनी स्टार्टिंग न्यू, why is it important to do branding as well as sales both?
So sales fuels all the activities that you do. So you need money in the bank.
Correct.
Everything you can think about everything in the world, but you need money in the bank at the end of the day. That is why a lot of brands focus on sales. However, the challenge that they face is, or the mistake that a lot of them make actually, is that they become so sales hungry that they forget the whole idea why they started the brand. When any business starts a brand, they always have a vision, what sets them apart, why are they so special? And that is where your branding actually comes in. It's your story, it's your positioning, it's that messaging in the market that lets you stand out from your competition.
Correct.
And that's what branding is all about. Branding is all about being able to create trust. It's about being able to create credibility for your brand. It's about being able to create a long-term growth journey for the business, right? That is the only way how you'd be able to demand the price in the market that you'd want to demand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're always going to be in a price war. And looking at where where economies are going, where the world is going, brands that are only in a price war, at some point or the other, they're going to die.
Absolutely.
They cannot function. They just cannot run. Right. Because it's extremely competitive. You've got your internal factors, you've got your external factors. In product businesses, you've got to compete with China, Taiwan, and all these countries also. So there's just so much happening. And then payment timelines and credits, and there are a billion things. So at some point or the other, that is where most business face a runway, because they're not making enough money. They're on such cutthroat competitions.
Right.
That is where branding actually plays a very, very critical role for businesses. That first and foremost, in the long run, and that is what most businesses don't realize, it helps you cut down on your marketing cost. As soon as you start getting a credibility, you start getting a positioning for yourself, people start relating to your brand and your messaging. You don't have to put in the same amount of effort that you need to do when you're starting a business.
Correct.
If you're going to be selling and only selling, you will continue having to put the same amount of effort throughout the entire life cycle of that business. So that is exactly what you started with. The minute you stop your operations, your sales stop. And that is exactly where most brands face, and then they're in that hustle zone all the time. They're not able to grow, they're not able to scale up. For you to
try to finance their day-to-day activities actually.
Exactly. So they're working on that.
Right. So how to get rid of it? See, there are brands who try to just finance their day-to-day activities. They are getting money, they're spending on something, then they are getting money, then spending on something. They are not able to put it in a way that can help them surviving in a longer run, right? So for a brand that is absolutely stuck in their day-to-day price war activities. So if we talk about price war, I think there are two segments to it. One is external, one is internal. External means we are running, we are in competition with other brands also. Second is internal, that is day-to-day activities. How to get out of it?
So at the end of the day, you need to be able to find your USP. You need to be able to find what is special about your brand. Why will people relate to that brand? And that is what you need to be able to build a narrative around. So your as a brand, as a business, your marketing strategy, your communication strategy, your entire way forward has to have enough leeway for you to be able to build a brand positioning for yourself. And that is where most businesses fail. Once they start prioritize in their initial phases, once they start prioritizing sales over everything, sales is important. Sales is everything.
Yeah.
I
feel it should go parallelly.
Yes, as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, as a businessman, sale is everything.
And ultimate goal of every business is sales only.
We can have like a great brand that we love sitting in our room, but if people are not buying it, then it's a shitty business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you need to have sales, but that sales cannot come at a cost where people discount your brand.
Exactly.
That is the key, which most entrepreneurs often tend to forget. They get so stuck in that sales vicious cycle that they are not able to get out of it, and being able to create credibility for your brand is extremely important. This is more from your mass businesses. Then you've got more of new products that are coming in, new categories that are coming in, businesses who want to get into the premium category, businesses who are trying to make a difference. Their branding is the only way to go forward. So if you're coming up with a new category, if you're coming up with a product which is different from what is there, where you're trying to break a particular norm, then branding is the only way you'll be able to sell. So there the requirement changes completely. Then it's not about do we do branding first or do we do marketing first. That's only about how good is your branding that your sales come in. So there the approach changes.
Okay. So when we say how good is your branding, how to define it? See, for me, branding is something different. For your business, branding is something different. For any FMCG brand, branding is something different. For any automobile sector, it is absolutely different. So even we, as a marketer, we pitch our clients, this is the branding activity you should do, versus they have something in, to counter our activities or our mindset or thought process. So how do you define that this branding activity is good?
So see, everything will boil down to KPIs. As any business, you need to set out your KPIs. You need to be able to set out what is it that you're trying to achieve from any branding, marketing, sales activity, anything that you're doing. You need to be able to figure out what your goals are and how we are going to assess those goals. That's the first one. It's the why, which is the entire game. You want people to buy. Great. You'll give a price, you'll give this, that, great. But why will someone buy? Branding is an answer to that why. That is the entire thing that branding is all about. So being able to you need to figure out that what are those branding activities that you do that actually address that question. Once you've got answers to that question, it becomes fairly easy. In our case, you very rightly said, clients will always come back to us with new ideas कि यार ये नहीं ये करते हैं. But sometimes those ideas are great, and sometimes those ideas are even better than what we give them, to be very honest with you. However, a lot of times you have to go back and realize them, that what are you missing out on? You're coming up with an idea, but it might sound great to you, but is this really what your customer wants?
Exactly.
Because marketing is not about just an impulse decision that a brand takes that आज ये अच्छा लग रहा है तो ये कर लेते हैं.
I guess the overlap between buyer's perception and brand's perception.
That is very, very important. Brands need to be able to step out of their comfort zone. They need to look at their brand from the consumer shoes. And I think, to be very honest with you, I think that is where an agency plays a very critical role.
Correct.
A lot of brands ask, come back and ask me also, especially smaller brands, that, why do we need an agency, and, why don't we just hire an in-house team to be able to manage that part? It might be slightly more expensive, it might be slightly cheaper, depending, but, why don't we just do that? And, we'll have dedicated resources working on the brand 24/7. Well, what's better than that? And I always tell them that those people, the same resource that is working in my organization, if they sit down in your company, they will not be able to deliver 50% also of the value.
Absolutely. This is something we try to make our clients, customers understand, but they just don't want to understand.
Exactly. It is the environment, it is the kind of people that you're with, it is also the great managers that we have, everyone being able to put in their expertise, their guidance into it, and more importantly, those team members being able to get a third person viewpoint into things.
See, these are all about creative minds and analytical minds working together under one roof. there are a lot of idea sharing. There are a lot of things that they can do collaboratively that they cannot do in-house in a brand side.
Exactly. So that's why, you know, you need that third person perspective. You need that outsider perspective when it comes to branding, and that is very, very important. That is why research plays a very critical role. All good agencies would have a lot of data driven research that they are doing.
Correct.
They are getting, you know, they are doing their researches, they are getting into market analysis, they do market surveys also to be able to really understand what the customer wants.
Correct.
You know, I might sit in the room and say, no, this is what your customer wants. You might come and say, you know, this is what my customer wants, but in entirely the customer wants something completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, what is the ask, you know, what are those insights that drive our customers to buy from us? That is something that we really need to understand.
Correct.
Again, basis of what we do as a branding activity.
Right. So let's understand how we work around buyer's perception, the consumer's perception versus the brand's perception. Okay, because there are a lot of brands, I would say smaller enterprises, smaller businesses जो wannabe entrepreneurs बन रहे हैं, ठीक है, they have a good product, they have a good service, they don't know how to sell it, or they just don't understand what exactly their customers want. Maybe it's not just about changing the entire product or service, it's about changing just the communication part of it. Because ultimately, if you're selling any product on e-commerce website, you need to understand what is the communication behind it. So from a consumer's perspective versus from a brand's perspective, how to manage both the perceptions and create a communication that lasts long.
Again, I again say the same thing. You need to come in your customer's shoes.
Right.
You need to know who your consumer is, and you need to be in their shoes, and then you need to be assess what is it that's going to drive me to engage with that brand. When I sit back with my teams also in the office, whenever I'm, you know, doing a huddle with my strategy teams or, you know, with the marketing teams also, the first thing that I ask them is, you've made this piece of communication or this is your idea. As a consumer, is this driving you to engage with the brand, or is this, you know, driving you to transact with the brand? If yes, then you don't even need to ask me, the idea is going to work.
Okay.
If you are unsure about it, then you've got the answer anyways. And that is what a lot of brands need to do, you know. The biggest challenge that we face in this scenario is brands or entrepreneurs wanting to only follow trends. कि आज ये नया trend चल रहा है, now today there's this trend about using your staff in your reels and making these fun office videos. So let's just do that. Why are you doing that? Is there a logic behind
relevancy?
Is there any relevancy in it? No. But since it's trending, so let's do it because it's shareable.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is no one's going to share that content.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not, or even if they start sharing that content, it's not driving.
It is nowadays beyond impressions or just the visibility part of it. It's more about how people are engaging with your brand, with your content that you are pushing. It's more about the attention towards every single piece of content that you had put on social media.
Exactly. So, you know, a lot of clients ask us, you know, that what is a good engagement, or how do you look at a post? I remember I was meeting this client and he asked me, you know, you look at this post, how do you know that this is good engagement for you? So I tell him I don't look at likes. I don't look at comments. Because likes and comments, it's a 5-minute job. I can sit with you right now and I can get you any number that you want on your page. The only number that I care about is either shares or sales.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
What are you doing with your sales? Because if your content is actually good, you're going to get sales.
Yeah, correct.
And that is where, you know, that credibility of your
real
content,
engagement,
the real engagement starts coming. So brands need to look at it from a lot more than, you know, just that initial vanity that is there.
Correct.
And I think even these platforms are trying to push that. That is the whole reason why Instagram came up with this idea of hiding, you know, like counts.
Correct.
Because they want that vanity to go away and they want real transactions and interactions to happen. And again, brands need to become very true to what they're doing. That is why you'll start seeing there's this new trend in the market right now. Again, it's become a trend, unfortunately. But being very real on your social media, you know, being very, very real with the kind of content that you create, telling stories which are very real about your business, you know, be it your life cycle or be it the journey or be it the entire process of how you manufacture a product or what goes behind the scenes to be able to build that story. That is what is driving people. They want that authenticity. They just don't want to know that ek factory mein tha, you got it and now you've put it on your website and you're selling it.
Correct.
You know, they want
Absolutely.
much more
Right.
storytelling now.
Right.
They want to know every bit of thought that's gone into building that product and making it lifelike for the customer to buy it. And that is again what branding is all about. The
Correct.
customer wants to know the real deal. They
Right.
don't want to just know what is the price and kya deal de rahe ho. They want to know more than that.
Correct.
So there is a very, very big ask in the market also now for brands to start focusing on realism, on branding, on being able to tell the real story of
Correct.
how they are different and why they are different.
Correct. Okay. So you just mentioned the term trending. Okay. Trending virality is always temporary. Okay. Versus positioning is always permanent.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about it, and then we'll talk about the base components of branding. Okay. So how do you see virality or trending versus positioning?
I think they're two very different things,
Yeah.
to be very honest with you. A brand can have a strong positioning and still go viral.
Mm-hmm.
A brand can not have any positioning also and go viral and then disappear after a point.
Yeah.
I think where positioning plays a role is to be able to prove that the brand is able to face the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
That it's
Yeah,
you're
that
not
is
just your life cycle or your shelf life as a brand is not limited to the expiry date of that trend, but it is more than that.
Yeah.
That is the only difference.
Right. Right. So let's talk about base components of branding. So I'll try to give you. I'll try to create a case study here, and then let's see how it modifies. Suppose it's a new business. It's a product-based business. They're now. It's an e-commerce platform trying to sell their products through their website first. Okay. They want to start their branding. Logo is already there. Now, for any e-commerce brand who wants to now sell their products, but through branding, obviously sell is the part, but branding. What all things they should keep in mind initially to start their process? Okay,
so branding is a very, very vast subject, field, area of focus. You said they already have the logo.
Yeah.
My question starts from what is their logo?
Yeah.
Because the kind of a design language they have can make a very big impact on understanding whether that brand is going to work or not. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we face when a younger brand comes to us. Often they'll be like, हाँ हमने ना online बना लिया था, Canva से बना लिया था, logo creator था उससे बना लिया था. But then what?
What is the story behind it?
What's the story? How are you connecting this identity system to your brand?
Right.
And that is a very big differentiating factor between a successful brand and a struggling brand. I wouldn't say not successful because any brand can be successful if they're playing right. So, but struggling brand, they'll have to work harder to be able to get there.
Right.
And if these kind of brands who have always seen at some point or the other in their life, a few years later, they will go back, have to rebrand and end up spending a lot more money.
Correct. Yeah, that happens.
Because you might get an agency to do it at a good price, but then the cost of implementing your new brand and design is huge.
Right.
So for me, branding starts right from the very beginning of what your design system is like, and then everything else that follows it.
Correct.
Every single touch point is a customer experience.
Absolutely.
In today's system and a very big marketer had once said this, that it's not about today it's not about just selling a product, it's about selling an experience.
Correct.
If you're an e-commerce company, if you're selling a product, what is your packaging like? When the box opens, what is written on it? When the customer opens that box, what is the first messaging that comes
Correct.
in? It's these things that matter.
Right.
It is these things that define whether that customer is going to come back to you again or not.
Correct.
What is the kind of digital engagement you can get from that? Just having a beautiful box with a great messaging is going to just drive people to post more about you on social media. That makes a bigger impact for your brand to grow also.
Correct.
So a small touch point like that can be the base for a very successful branding activity that you're doing on a long-term basis from a positioning point of view also. So it starts right from there and then goes to everything else that follows. What your website looks like, again what you're communicating on that, what kind of a messaging and tonality you're trying to keep for your social media.
Correct.
So again, it's not just about you've posted pictures of the product with price, splash the price, cut, discount. No. Why should someone buy it?
Right.
So that real storytelling around your brand, around your business, around your key people, around the product, around its USPs, the ethos of your brand.
Absolutely.
You know, how does that make your brand stand out? Why will someone want to buy that product? Is very, very important.
Right. I feel the first 3 steps of that ladder is defining what, why, and how for your brand.
Yes.
It starts from there only, and then everything follows around that. So, for example, there is a brand, service-based brand. Let's talk about, because we can post a number of posts on social media, and we can start our engagement. Maybe it's not just not the engagement, but we can get like quick followers out of it, a few views and impressions out of it. There are a lot of smaller brands. I would talk about MSMEs, smaller brands. They say yes, we can do this, but let's start it at a later stage. Maybe after 4 months, maybe after 5 months of the inception. Maybe after 1 year. We initially need let me get at least 10 lakh of sale first, and then we can start around it. And we always say no, it's not like that. You can have like, okay, I mean, we also agree with you that you can have like 10 lakh of sales and then you can start, but is it okay if we say let's put at least 10% of it to start your process now, so that you can have result maybe after 1 year out of it?
See, this is a very subjective question, to be very honest with you. Every business is different, and the answer to this question depends a lot on what kind of a growth journey are you expecting as a brand. You know, how aggressive do you want to go, and who is your target customer also, to be honest. You know, if you're targeting even if you're a service business and you're targeting a premium category customer, you cannot go even a single day without having the right kind of branding. You know, you cannot have it without getting that right messaging out there, because that's what people are going to hire you for. That is where your credibility and trust will start coming up from. Again, trust and credibility is the basis of branding, like I mentioned. So at what point do you really need trust and credibility in your business to be able to generate more sales or to be able to get more customers will define when you need branding.
Okay.
In a 99% case scenario, it has to be day zero. How aggressive you go, again, will depend on the kind of a business you are.
Correct.
But no, I mean, you cannot, in my opinion, you cannot just put in a blanket thing and say, that, 10% aap dal do and chal jayega. It won't work.
I know.
A lot of business it'll bite you back.
So let's talk about COVID and post-COVID. किस तरीके से marketing change हुई है?
Oh, marketing changed drastically post-COVID, and I think the topic that you have, start branding and not selling.
ये कोविड के साथ तो रिजेंबल करता है बिल्कुल.
ये कोविड के साथ ही रिजेंबल करता है, एंड ब्रांड्स को समझ में आ गया था कि ये ब्रांडिंग करनी पड़ेगी.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have big legacy brands also, you know, that we were working with and who had to do nothing to sell. क्या था कि बस कुछ नहीं करेंगे, हम बस बेचते रहेंगे, हम हमारे OTAs हैं, जैसे for example we work with a lot of hotels. So ITC hotels के साथ this thing happened, you know. ITC, they need to do nothing in life, you know. They've got beautiful connections all over the world and they just sell. And COVID hit and suddenly they realized that, oh shit, you know, ये क्या हुआ? And so we've been working with ITC hotels for a very long time now. Now you would not believe, in COVID, agencies like ours, there are other agencies on there, empaneled agencies also. So all of us were given a responsibility that during COVID we have to do only one thing. We need to train their general managers on what social media marketing is. You're talking about great successful people, you know, people who've been in the hospitality industry for years to come, and they're general managers of the top hotels in the country. And I still remember we were sitting on Zoom calls with them and teaching them what is social media marketing.
Wow.
Famous platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Why you go on Facebook? You know, who's the kind of a customer on Facebook? What is the kind of an audience on Instagram?
The teachers day in school.
We've literally sat and done that, and we see that cultural change. Today, the same general manager who I used to work with before COVID would be like, हाँ ठीक है यार, HQ ने बोला है page active रखना है, तो do whatever you want. Now the same general manager will call me up and say, Dhruv, listen, last month na engagement rate has fallen by this much. What are you doing about it? It's changed. That culture has completely changed. You know, we used to earlier we had to actually tell them कि यार कर लो, this is what it is. We have to teach them everything from scratch. Today they come and question us, and for a second we're also thinking, okay, what what answer do we give to a question like this? And they've got great questions to ask.
हमने तो पढ़ाया है.
हमने पढ़ाया है. It's literally, we've sat and had training workshops where we're training general managers on what social media is about. So I think that was a very big change that I saw in the hospitality industry, and since then they've opened up also. They've become a lot more aggressive. They want to be updated with what's happening on social media.
They now understand how it functions.
They understand how it functions. They understand the importance.
Right.
Like from a point where we are teaching someone what is social media marketing, to a point that they will now say, okay, how many story tags are we getting?
Wow.
Please track. Tell us if we're getting enough story mentions. Oh, we've got this event happening. Did we get enough engagement on social media from this? Because we've got influencers coming in, we've got celebrities coming in. What is the amplification that we're being able to get through this? That's the kind of conversation that they now have.
Wow.
So I've seen that cultural change in these large brands also.
Wow.
Which has been great, which has been a
what about other brands?
So other brands also. So we started working with this brand Rosha. They're a lighting, they're lamps brand. They make wireless lamps.
Right.
So to give you a perspective of where they are today, they've got about a 60% market share pan India.
Yeah.
If you've been to any good restaurant, hotel, if you've seen those lamps on the table, it's by that one brand.
Okay.
Rosha.
Okay.
I can outright say, if you've gone to any good place and there are lamps, it's by Rosha.
It's by Rosha.
That's how great they are. They came to us in COVID when they had just an idea. So I still remember, we still talk about it often, that the founder called me. I was at home. I was down with COVID myself, so I was locked in my room. I could not get out, not do anything. So I didn't have anything to do, because my partner Nishal, he told the entire team not to contact me because I'm a workaholic. So they're like, listen, don't talk to him only. Don't respond to his calls. Let him rest. By chance, Shivam called me and he's like, listen, I got
Why this happens with workaholics?
So he called me and he's like, I got your reference from a few people, and they've all spoken great about your company, and I'm looking at starting this brand of mine which is into lamps. And we got to talking, and we ended up having a first conversation. He just wanted to understand what we do, and we ended up having a conversation for about 1.5 to 2 hours on call that day.
Okay.
That was the first conversation. Everything was great. By the time we spoke, we understood that we need to get into a premium lighting positioning, because while talking, I was just Googling, and I found out that there are products from China in the market which are competing in a very lower category. He's coming up with a great product, great quality. So we understood that the only way this is going to work is branding. So that's what we went back to him with, and we told him that, listen, the only way this is going to sell is if you make your product as aspirational.
Right.
Talk about the quality, talk about the designs, talk about how is the lifestyle product, make it so aspirational that people respect it.
Correct.
And that is the only way you'll be able to get a price that you intend to get in the market, because the price that you're looking to sell at is at least 5 to 8 times the price
than the products already
the products
China.
In the market. There's no comparison in the quality. I would pay 15 times more for that quality, but that's a different thing altogether, because the quality is actually good.
But to make people understand the quality and everything is a task.
Exactly. And even more in a D2C space,
right.
because you're seeing pictures, you're seeing it online. How do I know the quality? You just see a big price and it scares you away. So
and most of the products look similar.
Yeah. Huh? In a lot of cases they look so. Initially when they launched, we did not have that problem, so we were lucky at that time, because their products were very different looking. But this problem did come in, because as soon as they launched and as soon as they started getting the sales, people started copying them. A lot of people saw it.
China is mastering copy,
and they started getting duplicates. And that same product that we were selling for 4,000 was being sold at a competitor website for 2,000.
Shit, half the price.
And suddenly I see my performance campaigns drastically dropping.
Right.
ROASes are all over the place. We're just not getting sales. Bounce rate has increased.
This is interesting, and this is the problem with a lot of brands and a lot of campaigns. How do you tackle such problems?
So we had to go back to the grassroots. We had to start figuring out what's working and what's not working. So there did come a panic situation where the brands like, should we also just get the lower quality of the same design, and we can also arrange for a lower quality product like these guys are getting. We know the same suppliers also. Should we get that and start lowering our prices? And I'm like, you're going to lose everything that you worked hard on. If that is what you wanted to do, you could have just started by doing that in the first place.
Into price war.
Exactly. And you would again not be able to compete because it just be endless. And so they're like, what do we do? And we sat and we tried to figure out what do we do. And we came up with this idea that let's again go back to our basics. When we started the brand, we had these ethos, we had this culture that we want to build something of value. We want a quality product to be built.
Correct.
We want people to respect it. How do we make people respect the product now? So we came up with the strategy that we want to introduce. So till then they were doing a lot of business, primarily either D2C for individual orders, or they were doing in their B2B space with the restaurants and hotels and stuff. We decided to position the brand as a gifting brand.
Okay.
And we decided that we should start promoting it as a wedding gift, the ideal wedding gifting brand, premium category.
Okay.
Now, if you're looking for a great gift, Diwali gift, wedding gift,
in a way you change the positioning.
We changed the entire positioning.
Yeah.
Now, why that helped us is because when you want to give a gift to someone, the first thing that you will look at it is that does this product give that perceived brand value or not?
Correct.
That is the whole idea behind giving a gift.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you go for a branded product or a non-branded product, you'll always want that product to look more expensive than what you bought it for.
Exactly. At least it should look like.
That's the basis of right. what a gifting should be like, right? So we came up with the nice packaging box, like a nice great gift box for the brand.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy gift box built. Experience gifting ka experience should change it. We plugged in a lot of influencers. We amped that up with social media. Got some great nice campaign shoot done with thematic content for weddings and for Diwali festivals and all of that, and we started pushing it out.
Right.
We got a lot of influencer push. We got a lot of digital engagement around it, and suddenly we started getting a lot of orders around it.
Wow.
So people started placing. We'd get a call. I remember this influencer, I think she got 100 orders. Yeah, so we sent out this we did this engagement with this influencer. I mean, our collaboration was we'll send her stuff, we'll pay her, we'll get great content out of her. Great. We did that. She loved it so much that she, a week later, called us back and she's like, listen, I need to buy 100 pieces for a gifting that I'm doing. Can you help me?
Okay.
I get it from the brand. And she was happy to pay. So it's not that she was looking for some freebies or something. She paid and got it done. So what we realized was that there was a very big gap in the market and no one had identified it, at least in the category, in the space. And we were able to identify that and we were able to position the brand accordingly. Then suddenly we started getting a lot of business, a lot of queries, a lot of demand for the brand around that. We ended up adding a feature on the website also that if you want with volume based pricing, so that you can directly just order like 20 pieces, 10 pieces for gifting.
Yeah, correct.
Get a discount or add a gift box feature, and those things worked brilliantly for the brand.
Correct.
So we do a lot of work in the F&B industry and absolutely love that space. So I'll talk about this one brand that we worked with.
I was a chef converted marketer.
You were a chef converted marketer? Oh wow. So where were you a chef at?
In Leela Palace, Ashoka, Hyatt, and then I left the industry and started as a marketer.
Wow.
Started my career as a content writer. But it's been like 13 years now.
Great. Awesome. So there was this brand that was coming up at the Andaz in New Delhi.
Okay, Andaz.
At the Andaz Hotel. Since you're from Gurgaon, so you must have heard of this brand called Kubani.
Kubani.
Very, very raging, very, very trending. So we created imagined that entire brand from scratch.
Okay.
So I still remember when I met the owner, his brief was, very sweet uncle, his brief was, we've got this space. अब आप बताओ क्या करें? हमारा इतना रेंट है.
It is simple and complex both.
सिंपल है. हमारा इतना रेंट है. इतना हम ब्रेक इवन एंटिसिपेट कर रहे हैं. अब हमें समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या करें.
अच्छा, ओके.
अब आप बता दो. साथ में उन्होंने एक लाइन और मार दी कि एक और डिस्क्लेमर देना चाहता हूँ मैं आपको. to get this property, we've put our house on mortgage.
Oh, okay.
So no pressure.
No pressure is on you.
So
See, this is all about business and entrepreneurship. People like they are okay to do everything and anything just to get their business built. So this is all about entrepreneurship and business. Yeah. I mean, जो कहते हैं ना इसका founder पागल है एक नंबर का. This is because of it.
They are like that. They are very passionate about it also. Like, you know, Sharad, the founder, very, very passionate. You know, he just wants to build. He made a beautiful place. And then करना क्या है? वो तो figure out कर ले. Dhruv and his team will figure it out. We are stressing out, we're sitting, what do we do? He's made a place, Indian looking place hai. Indian, at that time, Indian was not selling.
Yeah.
Unless you're a dining restaurant, Indian does not sell, Indian does not get the revenues.
Correct.
They were looking at big fat numbers. So we had to go back to the drawing board, churn up this crazy story that, you know, people get very excited about, build up a full narrative of, you know, what is going to be, the USP of the brand, what is going to be the differentiator. Had like these endless, you know, back and forth hurdles with the client. Like, I still remember this is one brand that we had fights with the client because at some point, for some reason, everyone became so over passionate about making it work that everyone took it as their personal agenda कि इसको चलाना है.
I know. That happens.
So then we're fighting with him. No, you don't know what is to be done. We will tell you. Do this. He's like, but this is my brand. I know what I want to do. But we're like, no, you don't know anything. We will tell you. So, you know, we used to have fights.
Those are good fights.
Which are great fights because everyone is everyone is.
And everybody understands, even the brand side or the agency side. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they understand this is more not just about money. This is not just about getting one more account. It is about making things work.
Yeah, and then, you know, when everyone would cool down, then they would also be like, हाँ यार तू बात तो हमारे benefit के लिए बोल रहा था. So I mean, Kubani is all about hype.
Yeah.
Kubani, to be very honest, that brand broke all possible sales records, revenue
and now
records.
I get it. Who is the man behind this?
And they did everything great. Like, you know, they created a new benchmark in the industry for revenues. They created a new benchmark of what is the potential that, you know, an F&B outlet can actually make. Very few places of that scale and size. You know, we'd always be very scared. Like, you know, when I saw the place for the first time, they're like, this is what you need to do, and these are our break evens. I was also worried that, okay, this is too big a place. And the problem with restaurants is either you're full or you're empty. There's nothing in between.
Correct.
So I can't be 80% full and be like, oh fine, you know, I've had a great day. And if you've been to the place, you'll see that the structure of the place is such कि आपको खाली लगती है. वो कभी भरी लगती नहीं है.
Right.
So that was even more stressful for us. That how do we bring in 600 to 700 people every single night?
Right.
Every single night, bringing in 600 to 700 people in a place which is expensive, where you're spending 10,000 rupees per couple to enter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to bring in those many number of people was a challenge, and we understood that there is no sales offer, no sales activity that could let them run and let them be able to get business. So we had to focus on building this fancy narrative around the brand. We had to focus on creating so much hype around the brand that this is the place to be.
Right.
You know, if you've not been here, you've not been anywhere. And people wanted to go there, and people wanted to spend money there.
Yeah.
They wanted to show off.
Right.
And I think that's what's been great. We work with another brand right now. We very recently launched, and this is now the go-to place in Gurgaon on Golf Course Road called Japonico.
Okay.
You will not believe that brand. Great sales. The place is always 250 covers, always packed.
Okay.
Zero social media ad spend.
Okay.
Zero.
How is it?
We don't even have an ad account.
Okay. And how is it happening?
100% organic. So we were very clear on what.
And it's just 45 or 2 months old.
Not even 2 months old.
Okay.
45 days.
Just wanted to understand, to know how it's happening.
So for this brand, we were very true. So the client made a brilliant product. The product is absolutely brilliant. There's no complaints on it altogether. He trusted us a lot. He said, "This is my product. This is my vision. How you want to translate it is on you." And we focused on being able to showcase the real side of the brand, the real experience of the brand. And we focused a lot on content marketing. So we knew that sales तो कर ही नहीं सकते, offer डालना नहीं है, premium category बनाना है, so we will not have any offer.
Correct.
We don't want to run any ads. So how do we get the word out? We have to get that FOMO effect. We need to get the who's who to come in and dine. We want to show the right content. We want the food to look so great. We want those nights to look so banging that you're like, shit, why haven't I gone there?
Correct.
So we build that entire talking point, that narrative around creating that FOMO, around creating that thing that, if I have not gone there, then there's something wrong with me. So people start pushing to go there.
Correct.
And that's what's happening with the brand.
Right. Amazing. So how do you see the difference between online and offline? We see a lot of hoardings, a lot of boards on roads. How is it evolving?
Drastically. Earlier, every brand, when they were launching, सबसे पहले होता था कि do we have a budget for hoarding? First step was get a budget for offline pamphlet distribution.
Right.
ठीक है. Then hoarding, then TVC या radio. Fundamental चलता था वैसे ही. Now it's all changed.
Correct.
Now it's first about being able to nail digital.
Correct.
As a brand, are you able to milk the value out of your digital efforts? Once you've completed that, or once you've got to a satisfactory point, is where a brand looks at any other media.
Correct.
Because you have to look at the cost versus benefit ratio. The cost benefit ratio is much higher in an online space. Your reach is higher, your impressions are higher, your eyeballs essentially are far higher. You're able to track those results. If I put up a hoarding, I'm guessing how many people are coming in, or I'm looking at, okay, fine, ये agency ने ये survey किया है that these many cars cross this road, so that means these many eyeballs can potentially come in.
Correct.
Which is a good ballpark range to have, but it's still a ballpark range.
Correct.
If my design is not nice, then people are not understanding it. I don't know.
Correct.
I can't be a judge of that. However, when it comes to digital engagement, we can start looking at a CTR rate to be able to see whether our creatives are doing well or not.
Correct.
So there are a lot of metrics that help enable any marketer to be able to understand what kind of a communication, what kind of a thing is working for the brand. So digital is the first. Once you've completed that, then you do the other tick marks that you need to do.
Right.
Offline.
Or does it depend on the type of industry we are in?
Very much. See, everything will always boil down to who your target customer is.
Correct.
If you're looking at like a tier 2, tier 3 kind of a customer, which is a very, very mass market customer, where digital engagement is still fairly low,
right,
their offline will always triumph. But then when you look at a more of a premium category customer, they are not engaging with you offline. Like if I talk about today's youngsters, they don't read the newspaper.
Correct.
In most people, they don't even have newspapers coming to their homes anymore.
Correct.
So in fact, we were talking with this brand just the other day, and he's like, we've always run this brand. If you've heard of Worlds of Wonder,
yeah,
they're one of the biggest theme parks
Correct.
in the country. So we handle marketing for them, and we were talking. They're like, यार, हमारे को आदत है कि पार्क हर सीजन में जब खुलता है एक फुल पेज एड दिल्ली एनसीआर का जाना चाहिए, 7 लाख रुपए खर्च करो, and the world should know about it. So this time we sat with them and we were like, what do you want to do? He's like, you say. And he's like, I want to change the audience. We've got too much family coming. I want a lot of youngsters to start coming in because, we've put in a lot of money. We've amped up the space. The place looks great. We've got a lot of potential for this new churn of audience to start coming in, which we're not seeing enough. So let's focus on that. So I said, then, okay, do one thing. Cut that newspaper out. Same budget, put it in your ads. We've got that. We can get far more reach. We can have targeted ads. Now the customer that you want to target ad ही नहीं देखता वो, newspaper ad ही नहीं देख रहा वो. What do we do? Running the
newspaper ही नहीं
पहुंच रहा उसके पास. What do I do? Putting out a front page ad. Why? Because you want your top management those uncles to just say that yes, we tick mark, we put a newspaper ad.
This is the problem. Most of the brands, they even marketing in-house marketing teams, or maybe sometimes marketing agencies also, they try to please their top level with type of ads or inventories they try to place. But it's not just about that. उसका relevance वहाँ खत्म हो जाता है जहाँ पे customer ही नहीं है.
They need to understand that to be able to please that top level also, at the end of the day, do something which is going to add value.
Exactly.
Just don't do it for a tick mark.
Yeah.
Bring in more sales, so there is a logical reasoning behind it. So when we discuss that logical reasoning with the client also, that listen, this is what can be done. We should focus. Why don't you give me that same budget? Let me call in big 2-3 content creators.
Absolutely.
Let me get you the best content creators in Delhi, and I can get 3 in that budget, and let me get them to create that content. Their content will go far more viral. These content creators, their reach is in millions.
Right. So how's brand Catapult doing?
Great. We're very happy.
Correct. You have both Indian and international clients?
Yes, we have Indian and international clients. We are active in about 9 countries at the moment.
Across industries?
Across industries. So we are active in about 45 plus industries.
Okay.
So e-commerce, retail, hospitality, fashion, nightlife, education. You name the industry, we've done some sort of work or the other in that space. And we have a global exposure, which has been great for us.
And case studies have got an idea kis tarike ka kaam ho raha hai.
No, that's actually, I'll be very honest with you, that's come in a lot because of our international exposure.
Okay.
Every customer in every different country reacts to content, reacts to communication in a very different manner.
Okay.
And what we've learned over these years is when we are working with brands in different countries, we have to research, we have to understand, we have to do that trial and error testing and all of that. The learning that we've got from that, trends, systems, ultimately it is that has taught us a lot about what we are implementing in everything else that we do. There are a lot of trends or a lot of ways of working or customer psychologies that first start in the Western market and then move into the Indian market.
Okay.
There are a lot of concepts that first start in the Indian market or the Eastern markets and then move into the Western world.
Okay.
So because we've got the exposure of working with brands in both the Eastern and the Western side of the world, we keep adapting and learning from something that we've learned on one side and being able to implement it in the other side. And honestly, that is the only biggest benefit that we've got from this.